I'm not a politician, nor do I understand Senate rules, but it's clear that we need to get these people on the job because it's not just 300 officers, it's 1,000 officers. Why is it 1,000? Well, if the commander is not in the job, then the deputy commander has to take over. The deputy commander is not on the job, then the assistant commander has to take over, and the deputy assistant has to take over for him. So essentially, you have 3 people in temporary jobs having to do the work of 4, and that simply has an effect on not only readiness, but candidly, good order and discipline within the unit.
Well, what you hear consistently, though, General, from Senator Tuberville is that this isn't impacting military readiness, that the military is still functioning. And what we hear is that it's not just about readiness in the moment, but what the future ramifications will be for the U.S. military in terms of retention, in terms of recruitment. Can you just expand upon that?
Well, I think those are 2 different issues between retention and recruitment. Candidly, you're talking about the generals at the very, very top of the pecking order. I'm not sure any private considers that he will either stay in the military or not stay in the military based on a general's promotion. However, some would say this is just a symptom of a larger malaise within the military, most exemplified by the services that can't recruit enough people to come in. Don't think it necessarily has an issue to do with what Senator Tuberville is doing, but there are a lot of other issues that are keeping our young men and women from joining the services.
General, we've discussed the argument before that this is not a major impact on readiness because there's a chain of command, and that's the point of the structure in the military. How long can that argument be made?
Well, again, at the general officer level, a very long and unfortunately bad period of time, but a long period of time. But look, if you take a look at the battlefield, I was watching the documentary last night, or the show, The Pacific, and watching those commanders die on the battlefield and those young lieutenants taking over and those sergeants taking over. I think at the lowest level, the ground tactical level, and at the highest level, the strategic level, the military readiness will not be impacted for a very, very long period of time. But I'm more concerned about those other issues that you referenced, recruiting and retention.
But on the idea of readiness, and you say it may take some time in actuality, in reality, for readiness to have an impact, what about just the perception, though, when people or countries abroad are looking in and considering the U.S. military force, knowing that all of this is going on?
Well, I would say other countries looking in have got a lot more, a longer list of items that they're going to be looking at in terms of the downward trend in their view on the United States. We still have the best military in the world. I think our adversaries certainly understand that this is just some tomfoolery in the United States Congress. I don't think any enemy is saying, well, I wasn't going to attack last week, but this week, since Tuberville is playing games in Congress, let's go.
This could go on indefinitely. This could go on for another year, General. We could still be having this conversation around election time. What will it mean for the military by then?
Well, first of all, I'll take that bet. It looks like the United States Senate on both sides of the aisle are recognizing that this is, it's just tawdry kind of politics. And so people like Tim Kaine, it looks like they're stepping up to the plate and trying to work their way through it.
As we look to what may still be ongoing by this time next year, there are also ongoing wars we have to consider in Israel with Hamas, Ukraine versus Russia. And obviously in Congress, it's not just a matter of getting members of the military promoted. It's a matter of providing aid and funding, which is a subject of much debate. General, if they can't get around to figuring out a compromise on funding quickly, what's the implication?
Well, now you're addressing the real readiness issue, what really has a challenge to do with our operational capability. If we don't have airplanes, or the airplanes that we have are too old to be effective, if we don't have enough ships, if we don't have enough weapons systems for our troops, that is going to have a significant effect on readiness. And that's less about what Senator Tuberville is doing with promotions and far more to do with both the House and Senate not providing enough to the procurement accounts and the investment accounts of the United States military. That will make a difference. That will provide an incentive to our adversaries to take more risk than they otherwise would have taken if they know the United States military is not the premier military in terms of not only troops, not only in terms of training, but if they don't have the tools they need to defeat or deter our enemies, that has a much larger impact than the promotion rate inside the U.S. military.